Om. Sahana vavatu, Sahanau bhunaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May we acquire the capacity to study and understand the scriptures. May our study be brilliant, and may we not cavil at each other. Om, peace, peace, peace unto us all. Brothers and sisters, loving Sai Ram to all of you. We will welcome all of you for the online satsang of the Sathya Sai Baba Center of Arcadia. So we will continue the study circle and the Christmas guide. I think we started last week. The theme is Jesus Christ, His life and message. So last week we finished up page 4 and we are going to start on page 5. Hope all of you received in your email. The soft copy is there. You can download, print it. So if you don't have it, so I think Karthik will send again for your thing to view. So anyway, just briefly, I will summarize what we discussed last week. So Swami gave many discourses on Jesus' life, his teachings and his sacrifice and his contribution to the humanity. And so first Swami said beautifully, so Jesus Christ was regarded in 3 different ways. Some people said he loves God. Somebody said God loves him. It is higher. So we say we may love God, but God has to say you are a devotee, not we saying we are devotees. Swami says, everybody says I am a devotee of Sai, but God has to say you are. That means you fulfill all the criteria for devotion. And then finally they said, no, he is not a lover of God, loved by God. He is God himself. So same thing is depending upon, is the same person, depending upon our spiritual evolution, we perceive. There is a great devotee by name Annamacharya. He used to sing, Yantamatramana Yavaru Talachina Antamatrame Niyu. God is a reflection. You think he is an ordinary man, he is ordinary. He is a miracle man, he is miracle. He is an avatar. And Swami is the greatest example. Even Howard Muffet, such a great devotee who wrote many books, first book he wrote is Sai Baba, the Man of Miracles. He saw Swami because he saw Swami performing this, materializing vibhuti, material chains, and doing all these things. Sai Baba, the Man of Miracles. Then he, after coming in close contact with Swami, oh no, next book he wrote, Sai Baba, the Avatar. So he realized he is an incarnation. Then he realized Sai Baba where the road ends. That means he is the ultimate. And same thing, some of the devotees think he was embodiment Shiva, is embodiment Shiva Shakti, is embodiment Rama and Krishna. But one of the great Advaitic master called Abhedananda, he was a disciple of Ramana Maharshi. He came and said, no, Swami is Supreme Parabrahman, the attributeless, formless reality from which all avatars came. So it depends upon our level of purity. The purer you get, you realize, experience the divinity more. That is why Swami says, why we are not able to experience? Because of our animal and demonic qualities. And also we said last time, demons doesn't mean dark complexion, big horns or thing. Anybody who has this quality of pomp, show, pride and jealousy, anger, and harshness in their behavior or in the speech, all of them. And we all can exhibit that sometimes at different occasions to different degree. So all of us has demonic qualities, but the whole practice is to get rid of them. Then you can really manifest the divinity. That is one thing we talked about. For that, next thing we read about is the solution is love. So love is the way to start the day with love, fill the day with love, end the day with love. And Swami said, and one of the expressions is speech. When you talk speech, speak obligingly. Obligingly doesn't mean you take just to make other person happy, to tell untruth. No, you need to tell the truth. Talk a pleasant truth. If you cannot tell a pleasant truth, keep quiet. Silence is the best. You cannot improve on silence. Because silence is the language of spiritual seeker. If you don't want to make comment, just keep quiet. But if you do that, then you should not hurt by speaking. Speak obligingly, but softly and sweetly and truthfully. Those are the things important when you speak. So that is what we ended last week. Today we'll start on page 5, starting with God is omnipresent.
Sairam, brothers and sisters, we are on the PDF, page 5. God is omnipresent. Jesus advised one of his foremost disciples, Peter, to live in love, for love is God. Man can experience God only when he becomes the embodiment of love, which doesn't seek anything or expect even gratitude in return. Love becomes sacrifice and service spontaneously. When Peter listened to such exhortations from the Master, he found a new joy welling up within him, and a new meaning in the word joy. J means Jesus, and the letter directed him to love Jesus first. O meant others who must be loved next. Y meant yourself who ought to be loved only last. But look at the human condition today. Man loves himself first, others next, and Jesus last. When God occupies the mind, the objective world or nature, which is only the product of the mind, loses its validity, and man, the wave on the ocean, lapses in his source. Jesus demonstrated and preached the power of faith, and ultimately invited on himself the supreme sacrifice of life itself. When his disciples started abusing his tormentors, his voice warned them to desist. Quote, "All are one, my son, be alike to everyone." Unquote. By a vision he granted to Paul, who was reviling him, he transformed him into a penitent disciple, full of faith and ardor. It is only when we look upon the universe as permeated by God that we acquire the strength to fight the forces of evil. Many persons who engage themselves in prayers and pilgrimages for years wonder why they have not been able to realize God. It is unnecessary to go round the world searching for God. God is in search of the genuine devotee. The devotee who is conscious of the omnipresence of God will find him everywhere. He must have the firm conviction that there is no place where God is not present. That is the real mark of devotion. Meditation and prayer have values as means of purifying oneself, but they do not lead to God realization. Unwavering faith in God grants inexpressible bliss. One should not give way to doubts which undermine faith. The power of love is infinite. It can conquer anything. December 25th, 1986. So, a few comments quickly. This JOY, the acronym that Swami explained as joy, there is another one that in a discourse he mentioned about SAI, Sai, and he said Sai stands for society first, all others next, I last, the little I last. So Swami is putting the self or the body or the little self, the ego, always at the end, and this is the path to happiness. He has said before. In the second paragraph, Swami is pointing out that those who believe God is everywhere, they'll be always happy. Why? Because union with God is happiness or bliss itself. Swami has said many times. And saying that we practiced earlier this year, Devudu Nadu, God is well explained here. That once we believe God exists, He is everywhere, then we lose our grip on the world, and it stops bothering us or giving us a source for sorrow and other problems. And so the real message of this is that God is everywhere, and those who realize that are always happy.
So this Peter Swami is talking about, I don't know how many of you know, he's one of the foremost disciple of Jesus. That is why in the St. Peter's Cathedral, it is a thing in the Vatican, there's given a lot of importance. He's the foremost apostle of Jesus Christ. You know why he's called Peter? So in Latin, there is a word called Petra. Petra means rock. Because when they asked, Jesus asked everybody, like I told you, some people say, who is he? He loves God. Some people say God loves him. He is God himself. So Jesus says, whom do you think I am? Somebody said, you are John the Baptist. Somebody, you are Elijah. Each one gave. But Peter said, you are the Christ, the anointed. You are the one. So Son of God. So then he says, yes. Because his name was Simon before. So now you are called Peter, Simon the Peter. Peter means Petra, the one who has rock-like faith. And he says the church will be built on you. You are like a rock. On you the church will be built. That means he was very much instrumental in spreading the message of Jesus. So here, Swami talking about joy, is he says, in life everybody wants joy. That means give God first priority, everything else next, and I last. But the other way around, like Swami says, the greatest example is Pandavas. Pandavas gave the first importance to Lord Krishna in their life. Then they took care of their other people, their subjects and the kingdom, the people in the kingdom. And the last one is they're selfish. Whereas Kauravas, the other way around, themselves, he wanted to show his supremacy, arrogance. And then next other people, but last is Lord Krishna. He even tried to bind him. He tries to insult him without recognizing divinity. So it's the reverse order. So same thing with Sai. So we need to understand, if you want to have Sai in life, yes, Swami first. Swami, God is number one. Then comes everything else, all others next. Then that little I is the last one. So that is the one we should have, Swami first, all other, that means give God number one importance. Everything else, and then everything is taken care of. Swami gave beautiful example, like zeros every have, right? Your family is a zero, your work is zero, your bank balance is. So if you put one in front of it, it becomes million, trillion, billion. Similarly, if you're God, number one in your life, and everything you enjoy, family, work, society, then it has a value. But you remove God, it becomes zero. Any number of zeros is zero. So that is why you need to remember that you give the priority to God in life. And that is why another thing we talked about is, don't try to seek God. See God. Everything, whatever you see, you need to realize that it is God only. That's why here God is omnipresent. This is like a Sai formulas we should remember. Everybody should know that at least. There is only one God, and He is omnipresent. There is only one religion, religion of love. And there is only one language, language of the heart. These are three. There's another one which says only one caste of humanity. That is only, there is no, don't divide depending on the race and religion. So we need to remember this, God is omnipresent. No doubt when you go to places like Shirdi, Puttaparthi, Jerusalem, and where people worship a lot, you feel the presence more. But God is present everywhere. Wherever you think of Him with intensity and yearning, you will feel Him. But so we should never forget that God is omnipresent. Always see He is watching us, His eyes and ears are everywhere. That is an important point we need to remember. Okay, next, please.
Page 6, Sacrifice and Charity. Sacrifice is also an aspect of character. It is one of the qualities that young people should imbibe. It is often thought that charitable and philanthropic acts make for sacrifice, but there is a vast difference between charity and sacrifice. Charitable people give only a fraction of their bounty to others. Gifts of land, distribution of food, contribution of physical labor, and spreading education and knowledge belong to this category. Through acts of charity, no person ever gives up all that they have. One is not cursed to be born penurious if one does not perform acts of charity. Going a step higher, some retain for themselves what is just and essential and give away the rest to society. Such people win the highest acclaim in the world. Our sacred texts prescribed that a portion of one's possessions must be offered to the poor and helpless. Neglecting this injunction, one should not accumulate millions of rupees in a selfish, callous, unfair, and unjust manner like an avaricious Karmajan. Sooner or later, such a miser will become a victim of disaster and degradation. It is inevitable. Wealth piled up through unfair means is the result of exploitation of the blood of the poor. Young people should not become slaves of such unfair existence and should not adopt exploitation as a means of living. Sathya Bahini. Next, truth, goodness, and beauty. Truth is a fundamental principle. All religions have declared that no one should break his plighted word, that man should honor his pledges, that he should regard his words as his life breath, and that keeping his promises is the greatest treasure. This was the primary teaching of the great lawgiver, Emperor Manu, author of the Dharmashastra. Plato was the foremost among the disciples of Socrates. Aristotle was a disciple of Plato. Alexander was a pupil of Aristotle. Plato commended a system of polity based on morality, righteousness, mutual forbearance as conducive to the well-being of society. He attached the greatest importance to truth, beauty, and goodness as the basic virtues. In the Vedas, these three qualities have been described as Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Thus, though different words are used, their essential purport is the same. Spiritual discipline consists in recognizing the unity, underlying the apparent diversity, and realizing divinity. December 25th, 1990. Should we stop?
Yeah.
So in the first excerpt that we read, Sacrifice and Charity, Swami is pointing out the difference between the two, and he is again exhorting people to give charitably because it helps the giver. In fact, there is a quotation from Saint Francis of Assisi who said, "It is only in giving that we receive. There is no greater joy than that." So wealth which is piled up and used for selfish means, Swami is pointing out, is a curse, not a benefit. So people should give full-heartedly. But sacrifice goes more than that. Sacrifice is a sacrifice of ego, sacrifice of your wants and needs. Those are things that people don't give away easily. So that is the real sacrifice that he wants. To give up our bad qualities and our ego and all the darkness that is covering our inner light. In the next item, truth, goodness, and beauty, he is drawing the parallel here between the Greek philosophers the three that he mentioned, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, and the old Indian scriptures where the Vedas proclaim Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram as the three qualities that everybody should acquire. And so this is the unity that Swami wants us to pursue. Satyam.
So first is sacrifice and charity. So the most important, one of the famous quotations which Swami sings in the scripture says is, na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena, tyagenaika amrutattvamanasu. Tyaga is sacrifice. So not by karmas, even good deeds, na prajaya, not by progeny or good family or people around you. Na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena, but by wealth. You may have so much wealth, millions, billions. No, you won't. Amrutattva. Amrutattva means immortality. That means we are, this is called Shrunvanti Vishwe Amrutasya Putraha. We are all children of immortality. So how to attain that? Only by sacrifice, not by doing good deeds or so-called work karmana, or not by having progeny or big important family or by wealth, but by sacrifice only you attain Amrutattva Mansus. So that means immortality. Swami made it very simple. How do you get immortality? Anybody ever says? Very made it simple formula. Remove immorality, will become immortal. So the whole problem, obstacle is immorality. So if you remove immorality, you will become immortal. That means for Amrutattva, what do you have to sacrifice? Immorality. That means thinking bad, seeing bad, hearing bad, saying bad, doing bad. So think good, hear good, say good, do good, be good, then that is the way to immortality. That is why, that is what Swami wants, sacrifice. Then Swami is talking about money. So actually often we talk about Jesus, same thing in the Jerusalem. So one old woman gives just a couple of pence in the offer. And Jesus says, she gave more than all these things. Other people, rich people, they are putting large amounts of money in the hundi or in the coffers. But he says, no, she gave more, because whatever she had, she gave. So it is not how much you give and quality. So with what we gave. And a lot of you know the story how one boy, student, gave 100 rupees, Swami's hospital. And Swami was so proud of him and showed that 100 rupees note to everybody, all the devotees in the veranda. See, this boy gave a lot. And there are people who gave millions. But Swami was touched because this boy saved from his petty cash, what his parents sent for washing his laundry and for haircut. He forgo all that, just saved the money. Swami, please use this for the hospital. So the sacrifice is the quality, not how much you may. Another thing Swami talks about is money comes and goes. Morality comes and grows. So with money, you should be careful how you use it. There is a famous poet by name Bhartruhari. He says, money has only three ways. Danamu, Bhogamu, Nashamu. One is, you can use it for giving charities, good work. That is good. If you don't use it, next is Bhogam. You can enjoy. You can go have a nice fancy home, nice cars, and you can even entertain your friends and family. That is okay. Next best. First is Bhogam. If you don't do both of them, third course is Nashamu. That means it will be either your heirs will spoil it, they will, after you die, they will inherit and waste the money, or taxes, estate taxes, and somebody will take away the money, somebody will cheat. So best is used for good purposes, Dhanam. So because that is what it comes with you. That is why Guru Nanak said, how much money you have? The money you spent. I didn't understand. The money you used it, because other things you may see in the bank balance, the minute you close your eyes, it's not anymore your money. It is gone. It's somebody else will inherit it. It is the family or the government or somebody. So Swami says the money you use for good cause, that is registered in your thing. That comes with you. That is what very, very important, how you use the money. That is why Swami said a portion of your earnings, so it is said in the scriptures, use 1/4 for your use, 1/4 for the family, 1/4 for the charitable work, and 1/4 you can save for a rainy day, so that when trouble comes. So you need to not, whereas the other people, this is miser, they accumulate the whole thing. They say sometimes they have enough money wasted for generation, 10 generations, their children, grandchildren, great-grand, thousands of crores and millions. What will they do? You can't eat money. So that is what another thing Swami said. Blooddu, duddu, circulation. That means blood should be in circulation. Dud mean money should be in circulation. Blood, if it doesn't circulate, what happens? In the heart, if it doesn't circulate, you'll get heart attack. If the coronary arteries blockage, you'll get heart attack. It doesn't circulate in the brain, the blood vessels, what happens? You get stroke. So anytime when it's stagnant, it doesn't go, the blood circulate, you'll get heart attack, stroke, and thing. Similarly, money, if it doesn't properly circulate for the right use, that is what will happen. The society will degenerate, and there is so much discrepancy. That is why the violence. Why? Because some people too rich, some people too poor. That is, society created that. Then naturally, the people who are deprived, they see that, and they get into this violence, crimes, thefts, and all that. So that is why it's important is voluntarily people should use the money for charitable purposes. That is prescribed in the scriptures, and Swami emphasized that a lot. And another aspect we talked about is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. What is the Swami's biography name? Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. So they were struggling. Professor Kasturi was asking Swami what to use. He gave many proposals to use different names. So finally, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, because truth, goodness, and beauty. Because these Greek philosophers, Plato has said that, because that is the name of God, because this one, God is truth, and God is beauty, and God is auspiciousness. Shivam. Shivam means always auspicious, not sometimes. That is the power of Shivam. The Shivam, which is Lord Shiva, that is why we call, is always auspicious. So this is the beautiful concept. So, and Swami is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. So that is why we, and also there is a beautiful bhajan, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Very nice to remind us. So now we can go to the next one.
The three real treasures to be gathered. At that time, the priests of the holy temples of Jerusalem had become corrupt and commercialized. They had deteriorated into proud and selfish men. Jesus condemned them and tried to root out the evil practices. For all forms were in the eyes of Jesus divine forms, and he could not tolerate any action which belied this status. So when asked by people who he was, he could reply, "I and my Father are one." Jesus tried to teach everyone the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. Tradition-minded and egoistic men considered Jesus a false prophet, and they tried by every means to thwart his mission. Jesus, however, did not waver. Faced with opposition, he continued to be an example of living truth and to purify society. Many disciples followed Jesus, but throughout history it has been the experience of Rama, Krishna, Jesus, and Muhammad that disciples, however close, are seldom fully dedicated. Most are only part-time devotees. Jesus had 12 disciples, most of whom had faith in him and lived his teachings. But Judas yielded to greed. He betrayed his master for a mere 30 coins. He could not find joy in life after this treachery. His mind gave him no peace. He had to seek refuge in suicide. Betrayal by people who pretend to adore is happening since ages. Corrupt, greedy, and selfish people spread falsehoods about their own masters. We hear of a Judas 2000 years ago, but in the Kali age, people are obsessed with money and Judases have multiplied. They seek to amass paltry riches, whereas good character, good conduct, and knowledge of God are the three real treasures to be gathered. Land and buildings, silver and gold, dollars and other currencies are temporary and trivial. They are possessions only until life lasts. But those three treasures will stay on, sustain and strengthen you until you attain union with the infinite. December 25th, 1979. So Jesus was one who was trying to bring unity and purity into the lives of all men at that time, 2000 years ago. And he faced many oppositions, and finally he was crucified, as we know in history. But Swami is pointing out why it is important to follow God and follow your heart, to be in search of God. And for that we need good character, to behave properly, and knowledge about God, that God is everywhere and we are connected with Him directly from the heart. So these Judases, the story that Swami related here, they are present even today. And so there comes discrimination, which is very important for us to stay on the right path so that we can follow Satya Dharma and then reap the benefits.
I know. Yeah, so interesting. Swami said this in December 25th, 1979. So that is almost how many years? 22 years.
42.
Yeah, that time before he left the body. So again, he repeated the same thing in December 25th, 2000. We go on discourse. We were there before this is inauguration of the Whitefield Hospital. So just Swami is going to do that in January. So we were there in December for Christmas he gave. So Swami said, in time of Jesus Christ, there was only one Judas. He betrayed and cheated. But in this avatar, he himself said, there will be many Judases. So just for the sake of money, they will sell Swami. So they use name of Swami and collect money and abuse. And we have seen that materially in the last, after Swami's Mahasamadhi, even during that time, people used to collect and abuse his name. But after Swami left, there are many more people who are doing that. And Swami is telling how this money and this name and fame could be very tempting. So he says, people whom you believed, he believed Judas, how he betrayed. But Jesus is all-knowing. Even when they have the Last Supper, he said somebody who is sitting at this table is going to betray. He knows the whole thing because God knows the past, present, and future. But he has to act along the divine drama, and he made it happen. But Swami is clearly telling, hey, watch out for the temptations, because whenever in life there are temptations which mislead people. And there are so many great people who are misled, and because, as Sri Ramakrishna said, two major pitfalls for spiritual seeker is Kamini Kanchana. One is greed, and another is lust. And you can see the downfall of so many great saints and sages because of these two temptations. Like even Vishwamitra, who gave us the wonderful Gayatri, was tempted by Menaka. And people for the same thing like Judas and other people for money. So you should be careful about these temptations when we are following the spiritual path. That is very, very important. Okay, so next, you can go to the next one.
The greatness of unity and purity. All religions propagated unity for promoting the well-being of society. The welfare of the world is bound up with the well-being of society. Self-realization and self-knowledge can be got only through social involvement. Unfortunately, society today is riddled with strife, chaos, and conflict. All religions preached the greatness of spiritual purity. All religions called upon people to adhere to the path of truth. They also taught that good qualities are essential for man. Thus, when the essence of all religions is one and the same, when all the scriptures proclaim the same truth, and when the goal of all human efforts is one, where is the basis for any differences? The paths are varied, but the destination is one and the same. It is a sign of man's degradation that in spite of these truths, he indulges in conflicts and agitations on account of religious differences. When there is a downpour, the water that comes down is pure. The rain falls on mountains, plains, rivers, the sea, and so on. According to the region through which the rainwater passes, its name and form undergo changes. Because of these variations, it should not be thought that the water itself is different. Based on the teachings of the founders of different faiths, having regard to the requirements of the time and circumstances of countries, and keeping in view the specific needs of the people concerned, certain rules and regulations were laid down. On this account, one faith should not be considered superior and another inferior. Man's primary duty is to bear in mind the sacred truths and practice them in his life. December 25th, 1990. So in this excerpt, Swami is basically pointing out the unity of all religions. There is a beautiful discourse we read in the previous study guide on unity purity, which Swami authorized and gave for the conference in Rome, in Italy, and there he expounds on this unity, the principle of unity, that all religions point to the same God. So the God is one, but the paths are many, and all the paths should be considered equally valid and equally pliable. But people still fight on the basis of religion because of the narrowness of mind and because of the impurities that we have. And so one faith is pitched against the other. And Swami very clearly said he did not come on behalf of any single faith. He came for everybody, for every religion, every person, and even for animals. And so he is the principle of God, goodness itself. And purity is essential. Unity comes from purity. Once you're pure, then comes unity. Unity cannot be had at the cost of truth and at the cost of purity. It has to come after those. But unity is important for promoting well-being of society. So for that we need truth and purity as the basis. Satyam.
So also we talked about, Swami was talking about Judases. Another thing he reminds, Swami was talking about how people are running morning to evening in search of money, bank balance, how big it is, and you feel happy. So it says, like the earth goes around the sun, so man from dawn to dusk goes around money. So you want to have one job, you'll have to have two jobs. If you are working 8 hours, go to 18 hours. So go on searching. By the time you won't have time to even enjoy, because you are just, my God, I want more. So I told a beautiful story. There was one guy, so he wanted some land. So the king was generous, but he knows this guy is greedy. If you get it, how much I want? He says, you have asked any amount you can have, run whatever amount of place you can run. You say you can run 1 mile, 2 miles, 10 miles, whatever you do, that all that land is yours. This guy went on running, because after 10 miles, oh, I can run more, I can do. So he went so much running, he exhausted and dropped dead. Then finally, what happened? He dropped dead. How much money, how much land he needs? Less than 6 feet. So you wanted 6 feet, but poor guy was running so much to get. So the man also same thing, runs after catch up, do that. I want to get. Finally, you drop dead. You don't need more than 6 feet. So that is why we are all caught up nowadays. Also, everybody can relate www, right? World Wide Web. So www, everything. So I mean, clearly said, everybody is after wealth. That's all. That is the web. World Wide Web is, we are caught up in this web of wealth, always pursuit. And that, because you are caught up in the web is something you are caught up, right? So you will be miserable. So how do you get out of the web? Solution is www. That is work, selfless service, karma yoga. Worship, that is bhakti yoga, path of love. And wisdom, Jnana Yoga. So the same web, you can get out of the web, you follow these three paths, then you will be free. So that is where we need to see how you should be careful. What is the purpose of the whole thing? As Swami says, money is necessary, but how you use it, what for? Beautiful, one of my friends, he's not Sai devotee, I told him, colleague doctor, he said, he's a Jain, he uses in his talks, he said, money is like shoes, Swami said. It should be right size. Because you have money, lot money, you buy a big pair of shoes, what will happen? You will trip and fall down, right? But at the same time, you don't have enough, you make a small shoe, it will hurt you, it will cause pain. So if you don't have enough money for food, shelter, it is hard, you need it. At the same time, you have too much, then you are worried about somebody is asking me more donation, some friends want, some guys and heirs, they want, dad buy this or do this, friends. So everything is in right portions. Swami just enough needed for what it is. So that is why it is very important. So just everything in middle path. And for that, that's why what you should have? You should have purity. Purity of purpose. Once you have purity, everything will be taken care of by self. That's why Swami said, purity is enlightenment. He didn't say unity is divinity, purity is enlightenment. That means once you are pure, there is nothing you have to do, you are enlightened. The reason we are not enlightened is because of our impurities. That is kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. That is desire, anger, greed, attachment, pride, and jealousy. These dark forces that hide us. They are the impurities. Once you get rid of them, you are enlightened. That's why often we quote Jesus saying, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Once you are pure, there is no other thing need to see. Automatically, you are directly seeing God everywhere, all the time. All the practices we do, singing bhajans, the study circles, the selfless service we do, everything is get rid of these impurities. Chitta Shuddhi. That's why Chitta Shuddhi is Jnana Siddhi. Once you have purity of the heart, just you see that oneness, you see the Advaita Darshanam that will have. So the whole thing is to get that purity. And then once you have that, you will see unity. Unity we talked about a lot. Everybody remembers that? The time we almost like mantra, we used to Veshti, Samishti, Srishti, Parameshti. So at all levels, individual levels, we need to have unity. Then societal level, in the nature, and the leading to the ultimately God. So we need to remember these basic facts and contemplate, and then it will be good. So we finished this study circle for the Christmas guide. So please go back. Some of these things is not just reading. You can dive deep into this and contemplate, and Swami will reveal you more truths. And so, Sairam, I think.